those?
Yeah,
You see those officers?
Oh my God, why are there so many, Robert?
This is insane. This is like literally, oh shit. Oh shit. I can't get arrested.
That's attorney and activist Robert Held. You've seen him before at the Katie Faye News Channel. He's from Chicago, but he's in Minneapolis right now. And he joined me live to be able to tell you what is happening on the streets of Minneapolis. Let's take a listen. And joining me now from Minneapolis, Minnesota is none other than Robert Held, a dear friend, lawyer from Chicago. And you know, Robert, I'm going to say activist, and you are actually walking the walk, my friend. You are going to the places where it's important. Tell us exactly where you are and what you're seeing.
So I'm at the Whipple Federal Building right here in Minneapolis, where protesters have gathered and been particularly active since the death, the murder of Nicole Good. And I'm on Federal Way, and you can actually see behind me the federal building right over my shoulder. We have federal agents that are entering and leaving the building on a frequent basis, and protesters behind me that are, I would say, exercising their First Amendment rights.
Something that you know well, Robert. You have been at Broadview Detention Facility in Chicago, exercising your First Amendment free speech rights. Tell us how the protesters have been treated outside of the Whipple Federal Building where you guys have been.
Well, when I got here this morning, shortly after my arrival, a phalanx of about 30 federal agents in full military gear, brandishing their weapons, marched across the street over my shoulder. We're all on this sidewalk that you can see behind me, and you can see the protesters. They marched aggressively across the street, singled out one particular woman protester and arrested her on the spot and dragged her away. And that was, I don't know, about 5 hours ago or so.
Robert, what was she doing when they did that?
Well, at the time, she was doing nothing. She was standing amongst all of us, shouting, saying things to the agents that came by in their vehicles. But I had observed her. She, made a name for herself, so to speak, because what she would do is she would go up to the cars that were arriving, and she would literally put her camera almost against the window that the agents, of the agents' vehicles, and obviously taking pictures or video of agents that did not have a mask on. And then she would go and photograph their license plate. And I'm sure that she had their attention, and they made a determination. I mean, they've had a drone out here. They've got all kinds of monitoring equipment. They know exactly who's here and what we're doing. I'm sure there's also electronic monitoring. So they came out, in my view, with a specific intention of going up to her and placing her under arrest, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, Robert, we do know that in Illinois and in Minnesota, there's been lawsuits filed by those states and by the cities that one of the things is addressing biometric technology that the federal agents have been using to take pictures and to try to create almost like a directory of what they're trying to deem to be opposition. You know, one thing, Robert, you know well as a lawyer is this idea of the possible invocation of the Insurrection Act by Donald Trump. Do you think that the federal agents are intentionally trying to instigate violence with the protesters?
You know, it's interesting. And you as a lawyer are aware that we can say facts that we know.
Yeah.
We can observe things. We can hear things. We can see things. And so what we know are facts. But what we almost never know is what's in someone's mind. So all I can say is that the tactics and the weapons and the conduct that I observed in Chicago during Operation Midway Blitz from September through a month or so ago were aggressive, violent tactics. What I see on the videos and what I saw this morning are a much more aggressive style, a much more emboldened stance that the agents are taking. With Vice President Vance saying that they have absolute immunity, which is something they don't have, but something he said they have, they appear to be acting much more aggressively and much more brazenly and much more dangerously and it's sad for individuals and the communities and the American people.
Robert, we also know that, for example, last night there was a minivan or small SUV full of children, and that there was a family trying to get out of a clash in the street, and federal agents let stun grenades off underneath the van and also tear gas, so much so that the children were hospitalized. The 6-month-old was unconscious as a result. I mean, those are the people that they're trying to paint as being Antifa or being violent leftists or doing horrible things. I don't see any of that behind you, Robert. I just see people waving flags and shouting and maybe honking the horns when they're driving by.
Yeah, the protesters, and I didn't see that incident, but we know of incidents in Chicago itself where children, small children and even babies, have been tear gassed and maced. Protesters, from my observation, they are shouting, they are being derogatory and vulgar, they're using curse words, they're blowing whistles, they're giving the finger, shaking their fist. They're displaying emotion and their anger, disdain, disgust, and sadness about what the administration is doing. But there's no violence here. I didn't see a single rock thrown. I didn't even see a snowball thrown. They're just literally yelling at the agents.
Robert, earlier you were also at the memorial for Renee Nicole Good, at the actual scene where she was murdered. Talk about the sentiment there and kind of what's going on at that memorial site.
Well, very different from what you can hear perhaps going on behind me.
Yeah.
Very somber, very sad. Some people had made a small fire for warmth. There were people handing out food. There were people just talking in small groups. And it was a very somber, very sad memorial, with piles and piles of flowers and notes of well wishes and, feelings of camaraderie, community support. And so really just, a dozen or more people, some foreign journalists, I should say, were there as well. Really interesting, but really just a somber, sad community get together, if you will, of strangers, people from all over the country. I met people from LA and from the East Coast, Wisconsin and various other states that came there, really just to pay their respects.
Did you get a chance to speak with any of those foreign journalists that were there?
Just informally, there was RTL, which is a major conglomerate from Germany and France. And then here, there was a journalist from Sweden, from Germany, and of course the Spanish stations as well.
But did any of them express to you kind of what the thoughts are or the feelings are from their countries, what they're looking at happening in our United States, Robert?
Well, it's interesting you say that because the journalists are the ones usually asking the questions. I tried to ask questions, but they were at work, and so I didn't get as much of a chance to get a real exchange going. But what they did say is that, look, the people in Europe are interested in what's happening in America. They made reference to Germany in the 1940s, the fascism, the dictatorship, of Hitler. They made reference to that history and how the Europeans are interested in what's happening here. And they made reference to the fact of where is this going? Where's the trajectory? Katie, I don't know if you would mind, but
what's going on?
When the federal agents become aggressive like they are now, I like to put them in their place. So if you want it, if you don't mind, I'd like to pick up my bullhorn and do what I do.
Go ahead, do it.
Okay. All right. I don't know if you're going to stay on the air with me.
I'm gonna stay on. I want to hear what you're doing. I want people to see what's happening there, Robert.
There's almost as many foreign journalists here as there are, domestic journalists. We did have CNN, the Minneapolis newspaper, the Star was here. Yeah. And, but like I said, with the foreign journalists here, I find it very, very interesting.
Go, Robert, go.
Okay, officers, you need to stand down. You need to step back and stand down. Okay, it looks like they are. I think they are gonna stand down. So
Were they trying to cross the street, Robert?
what they're trying. See, we have Marshall amongst us here, who is a protester who puts a vest on and keeps people out of the street.
Yeah.
I think there is a little bit of a danger with all the slush and the snow and the ice. So there is a bit of a danger, and I appreciate that the marshal, keeps us on the street. But there's no reason for the federal agents to try to police us. So that's why I started to intervene there.
Sure. Robert, I want to remind people, you and I first got to know each other when you, again, were protesting outside of Broadview. You let Gregory Bavino know exactly what you thought about him. And you also did a little bit of a, attempted mooning of Bovino and the federal agents. And then
and there's going to be any, I would
sincerely for all of
I'm mumbling, that's all. All right, well, that's quiet. Hey, Bo. Okay. Don't mind me. I'm just a person. Anyway, it was actually kind of weird. Yeah, that first part. That's what I was talking about. think I switched it. Oh no. I know what's it saying. Yeah, see? That's why I wanted to stay away. I should have stayed away. I should have stayed away. I think I will. Bye.